The Invincibles, Shevchenko winning the Ballon d'Or and Mourinho gate-crashing the elite, 2004 was a hell of a footballing year. And the fill-in the middle was the 12th quadrennial European Championships held in Portugal. It is best known for perhaps the biggest international shock of all time when Greece propelled themselves to European glory. But as we approach the 20th anniversary of the competition, are we forgetting what a tremendous tournament it was outside of that too? In this film we are journeying back through the story of the whole of Euro 2004, not just one facet of it. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as we go on a discovery mission to recapture the magic of Euro 2004. Going into the tournament, plenty of players were at the peak of their powers. Thierry Henry headed into the tournament off the back of winning the league unbeaten with Arsenal. Luis Figo was off the back of another double figures goal season. Fellow Galactico Raul had notched 20 goals in all competitions. De Boer, Desailly and Cannavaro were all heading into their twilight years but were still active for their nations. And lastly, youngsters Cristiano Ronaldo and Wayne Rooney were heading for their first international tournaments. France and Italy were the bookies' favourites heading into the tournaments and would be finalists at the World Cup 2 years later, but how did they fare here? Let's go group by group, evaluating each nation. Group A firstly consists of the host Portugal, who were being led by World Cup winning manager Luis Felipe Scolari. The Iberian nation were not only hosts of the tournament but also hosts of the Champions League winning nation, as Portugal defeated Monaco just a month before the tournament started. Star power of Figo and Rui Costa as well as prospect Cristiano Ronaldo gave them a great chance of winning the tournament. Greece were next with 65% of their squad playing for one of 3 Greek clubs with a sprinkling of quality from foreign players Stelios Giannakopoulos and Georgios Karagounis. Spain were drawn into position A3 with only one member of their squad playing outside of their nation. Raul and Morientes were both in great form for their clubs heading into the tournament, with hopes their firepower could blast La Roja into contention. Lastly in Group A was Russia, probably the least known team in the group, but had quality with the likes of captain Alexei Smirtin and Champions League final goalscorer Dmitry Alinachev. Two neighbours dueling with lesser known quantities of Greece and Russia also in the mix. Who would come out on top? Portugal versus Greece opened the tournament in the Estadio de Dragão. The game was governed by superstar referee Pierluigi Collina and his infamous 1,000-yard stare. Expectation for the hosts was rife and kickstarting their tournament right would be optimal. However, they got off to the worst possible start, falling behind to a Karagounis 25-yard strike, and things went from bad to worse early in the second half as Bastinas doubled Greece's lead from the spot. Portugal would recover one goal in stoppage time through teenage sensation Cristiano Ronaldo, but had to settle for a 2-1 loss. In the other group match, Spain snuck past the banana skin of Russia to win 1-0 through Valeron. Greece, who were riding high after their opening game win, would take on another tough test in Spain next. When Morientes linked up with Raul to go ahead, normal service appeared to have resumed. However, Greece fought their way back with Angelos Karastias finding an equaliser. Portugal, on the other hand, recovered in their second match against Russia to win 2-0 courtesy of Manici and Rui Costa goals. It left the group in a precarious state, with Greece needed just a draw to qualify and it all to play for between Spain and Portugal. In the Iberian derby, Inaki Saiz took the bold decision to drop Morientes in favour of youngster Fernando Torres. Meanwhile, Cristiano Ronaldo came in for his first start. However, it was another substitute in Nuno Gomes that provided the winner for Portugal on the hour mark, sending them through as group winners, as Greece fell to a very bizarre 2-1 defeat to bottom side Russia. Spain were the first surprise casualty of the tournament. Group B consisted of the European Championship holders, France, a squad which was brimming with talent from Vieira to Makelele to Pires, Desailly, Zidane, Henry, Thuram and David Trezeguet. England were in position B2, led by Sven-Goran Eriksson, with captain David Beckham, the hero the nation were pinning its hopes on. Switzerland followed with their talisman enterthefray leading the line, with defensive prowess being led by Liverpool defender Stefan Henschos. And finally in Group B was Croatia, who had made a real splash when they entered the international scene in the 90s. A lot of hopes rested on 29-year-old forward Dado Perso, who had been in scintillating form for Monaco in the 03-04 season. Again, two heavyweights and two plucky outsiders contested here. Who came out on top? The opening match of this group was a rather drab goalless draw between Switzerland and Croatia, but things really heated up when France and England faced off later that day. The Three Lions took the lead for a Lampard header from a pacey free kick from David Beckham. England had the opportunity to wrap it up when Rooney danced through the French defenders, only to be felled, but Beckham's penalty was saved by Fabien Barthez. In the 91st minute, the French found an equaliser through Zidane, and England threw it all the way when Henry was fouled by keeper David James, that Zidane promptly dispatched the resulting penalty. An entertaining match, won by the competition favourites. England recovered quickly to annihilate Switzerland for a 3-0 victory, with teenage sensation Wayne Rooney scoring a brace. Meanwhile, France had to settle for a draw as Croatia proved tricky counterparts. To end the group though, both England and France completed professional jobs. They both picked up the wins they needed, with Rooney finding another brace and Henry adding his first 2 goals of the tournament. Group C consisted firstly of Sweden, who were being led by dual coaches Lars Lagerbeck and Tommy Soderberg. Talent was abundant in this group of players, with the likes of Oliver Melberg, Freddie Ljungberg, Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Henrik Larsson. Next was Bulgaria, who were making just their second international tournament appearance. Maverick Dimitar Berbatov in attack was Bulgaria's best player since Stoichkov and hoped to emulate his success at Euro 96. Denmark were the third team, the original surprise winner, having won Euro 92. John Dahl Tomasson had been in the goals at AC Milan in 03-04, and Jesper Gronkiar, Thomas Gravesen and Thomas Sorensen were all very familiar to viewers of the Premier League. Last in the group was Italy, another nation awash with talent including Fabio Cannavaro, Alessandro Del Piero, Francesco Totti, Christian Vieri, etc. The group was probably the most wide open of the lot. Who could capitalise here? Denmark-Italy opened this group with a match so feisty that it saw 50 fouls committed. Unfortunately though, this was at the cost of goals, as this one finished scoreless. Meanwhile, Sweden did their goal difference a massive favour when they sunk 5 past Bulgaria to take the group by the horns. Denmark were next to give Bulgaria a hiding as they won 2-0, and in the other match Ibrahimovic rescued Sweden a point against Italy with just 5 minutes to spare. This left Italy on just 2 points, and they would have to beat Bulgaria to give themselves any chance of going through. Meanwhile, Denmark and Sweden both needed a win to confirm attendance in the next round. Denmark would take an early lead in the all-Scandinavian clash through bagsman John Dahl Tomasson, giving a scare to Sweden. Elsewhere though, Italy fell behind to already knocked out Bulgaria when Martin Petrov dispatched from the spot. Early in the second half though saw both matches return to a draw, which saw Sweden and Denmark, the 2 teams, going through at this point. Denmark went back ahead though just after the hour mark to put the fear back into Sweden once again, but managed to once again draw level at 2-2. Italy though continued to struggle versus Bulgaria and needed to win by 2 clear goals to qualify, but they couldn't manage it. They got a late winner, but they didn't manage to get another. Euro 2004 had now scalped both Spain and Italy in the group stage. Finally, we come to Group D then, consisting firstly of dark horses Czech Republic, with their captain Pavel Nedved in red-hot form and abundant firepower with Jan Koller and Milan Baros. They fancied themselves in this tough group. The only tournament debutants here were Latvia, who had overcome World Cup semi-finalists of 2002 Turkey in the playoffs. Marians Pahars was their star striker, but he was struggling with fitness in a race against time. Germany followed, who were seen as bigger outsiders than usual heading into this tournament. Miroslav Klose, Michael Ballack and captain Oliver Kahn were their main men to be watched out for though. Lastly, we arrive at the Netherlands in a squad filled to the brim with talent. Jaap Stam, Van Bronckhorst, Edgar Davids, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Clarence Seedorf, Mark Overmars. This team was going to be dangerous throughout. This was probably the closest group to a group of death. Who would make it out alive? In the opening matches, the Czech Republic avoided an early scare as they came from 1-0 down to defeat Latvia 2-1. Germany and the Netherlands faced off in the other match, an international fixture that has given us so many memories down the years. Here, Torsten Frings' indirect free kick floated all the way in to give Germany the lead, but Van Nistelrooy's classic finish ended the match 1-1. The next round of fixtures though was where the fun really started. Latvia-Germany was seen as an easy victory for Die Mannschaft, but despite pressure upon pressure, They couldn't find a goal, and this one ended 0-0. Later that day, we were treated to one of the matches of the tournament between the Dutch and the Czechs. When the Netherlands found themselves 2-0 up after just 20 minutes, things were looking rosy. However, a Czech onslaught was afoot as Koller, Baroš and Smica were amongst the goals in an incredible 3-2 comeback win. This sealed the Czech Republic as group winners and left it wide open between the Netherlands, Germany and Latvia as to who would claim that crucial second spot. In the final round of fixtures though, the Netherlands left no doubt as they stomped past Latvia 3-0. But this would only be enough if Germany failed to beat the Czechs. And despite leading early through Ballack, they lost to a fully rotated Czech Republic by 2-1 in one of the darkest days for German football. Spain, Italy and Germany were all lost in the group stage, who coincidentally would be the teams that would go on to win the next 5 major international tournaments. The group stage really set this tournament up to be one of the greatest European championships of all time. Spain, Germany and Italy all being scalped in the group was absurd to see. The likes of the Czech Republic and Greece providing giant killer shocks was great to see. Many stars such as Baroš, Rooney, Van Nistelrooy, Thomason, Zidane, Larsson were all shining. Before we race ahead into the knockout stage, let's take a quick intermission to look at some of the non-footballing aspects that made this tournament such a captivating one to watch. One of the primary reasons I have such an affinity for this tournament is because of aesthetic reasons. Beginning with its logo, it really does convey the tournament feel well. Gold and yellow displays the climate and culture of the nation, and the red and green gives a subtle nod to the Portuguese flag. The gentle brushstrokes of both the design and the typography used for the word Euro 2004 give it a stunning down-to-earth feel and evokes dreamy emotions of fantasising and romanticising your nation doing well. This crosses over into the mascot design, which depicts a young boy wearing the colours of Portugal kicking the ball we see in the logo. It really does add up to this lovely fun and relaxed tropical feel that Euro 2004 was going for. This was only further elevated by the choice of song for the tournament, which was Nelly Furtado's Forza, one of the best tournament songs of all time. Obviously I can't play it here, but you can find it on all good streaming platforms. The song describes how all of your senses will be touched in the pursuit of watching the beautiful game. It flicks between both Portuguese and English and gives great togetherness and unity that doesn't feel manufactured like a lot of the official tournament songs we get in recent tournaments. It all combined to give this festival aura around Euro 2004. Now, to intensify my affection towards Euro 2004, I'm going to make what may be a controversial statement. The graphics used at this tournament are unequivocally the best of any international competition ever. They are perfect. They're unassuming yet stylish, curvaceous, bursting with colour and vibrancy, and exceedingly easy on the eye. Elegantly designed team sheets without skimping on the key information. It adds to the look of the stadiums too. Euro 2004 is now perfectly placed, whereby it looks modern enough in visual images and videos, but the static advertising boards and slightly dated logos emblazoned also gives the illusion that this is an old tournament too. And maybe that's because we're in the nostalgic peak for Euro 2004. All in all though, it was class personified. It was elegant yet vibrant simultaneously. Maybe these facets of a tournament are superficial, maybe they are simply vessels of information or unavoidable branded idents. But for me, they do matter. They do evoke emotion within us. They are intrinsically tied to our emotions and memories of a time in our lives. And when this is done well, it should be celebrated for enhancing our experiences of watching something as sacred as the beautiful game. And speaking of which, this is a Euro 2004 retrospective. Let's get back to the football. A reminder then of the way the land lied heading into the knockouts. 8 teams remained in the competition, all battling it out to be the winners of Euro 2004. Our opening quarter-final match took us to the capital, as the hosts took on the Three Lions. England were playing well in this tournament. They were in good form, with the likes of Rooney and Lampard playing extremely well for their nation. The hosts though were desperate to give their fans a reason to smile. Just minutes into the match though, Costina completely misjudged his header, handing Michael Owen his first goal of the tournament. England were resilient in holding on to their lead, until the final 5 minutes when Helder Postiga headed home a leveller. Sol Campbell though thought he had won it in the 90th when he nodded past Ricardo, only for the referee to rule it out for a push that never was. Nevertheless, we were heading to extra time. In the 110th minute, Rui Costa picked up the ball in midfield, danced his way towards the area and unleashed a thunderbolt off the bar and in to give Portugal a 2-1 lead. This was short-lived though, as Frank Lampard controlled well in the box to lay a finish past Ricardo in goal, sending the match to penalties. Early misses from Beckham, who had missed his second penalty of the tournament, and Rui Costa saw the score level. At the 7th penalty, Darius Vassell stepped up and Ricardo pushed his penalty wide, at which point the eccentric goalkeeper decided he wanted to take the potentially winning penalty. He faced up to David James and drilled his penalty into the corner. The hosts were heading to the semis and England were heading back to Blighty. After an eventful opening quarter-final match, we come to France versus Greece. This is where many will believe that the Greek defensive system came into play, but this just isn't the case in this match. Angelos Karastias and his 6'3" gangly frame caused France problems all throughout the first half. The Blues themselves had chances too, but going into half-time, it was goalless. The second half though did see the deadlock broken, as that man Karastias was given an area the size of a small nation to score a free header. A French onslaught came thereafter, but Greece held strong, with the best chance falling to Thierry Henry, who spurned an opportunity wide of the target with just minutes to go. Euro 2004 had claimed another victim as the favourites headed home. The penultimate quarter-final saw Sweden take on the Netherlands. The Scandinavian nation had impressed in the group with their considerable firepower in the likes of Ibrahimovic and Larsson and Ljungberg. The Netherlands, on the other hand, had grown into the tournament and had a great chance of making the last four here. The first hour of this match though saw both nations struggling with the same problem: getting the ball to their front men. From here though, the Portuguese heat and fatigue legs seemed to open the game up. Still though, the game remained perilously in the balance, and we headed for extra time. After these two just continued to match each other stroke for stroke, we would have to go to penalties. After 5 penalties, both nations had missed once, meaning it was sudden death. Olaf Mellberg, the captain, then stepped up for Sweden, but Edwin van der Sar guessed correctly, stopping his penalty. Young, dynamic winner Ian Robin stepped up to win it, and he did so with the coolest head in the stadium. The Netherlands were through, with the host Portugal to come in the semi-final. But before we get there, we've got our final quarter-final match between the Czech Republic and Denmark. The Central Europeans have been fantastic in the group stage, beating Germany, Netherlands and Latvia in a 3-3 in the group. Denmark were having a good tournament too though, with their danger man John Dahl Thomason in scintillating form. There was only one team in this match though, and it was the Czechs. Goals from Koller and Baroš and assists from Poborský and Nedved. This Czech team was a sublime one. This was one of the performances of the tournament so far. And with that, the quarterfinals was done. A surprising cacophony of nations remained. The semis were next. The final 4 nations then were Portugal, the Netherlands, Greece and the Czech Republic. Only one of these 4 nations had won the Euros before, and that was the Netherlands in 1988. They would be facing a stiff test though against the hosts, Portugal. Having been shocked in their opening match by Greece, the hosts were now in good form. They'd recovered well and looked confident. In this match, it was Portugal who found the score sheet midway through the first half, as teenage sensation Cristiano Ronaldo flicked home from a corner. Shortly after, both Figo for Portugal and Overmars for the Netherlands went close, but neither could find a goal. A second did come though towards the hour mark, as the Netherlands were caught out from a quickly taken corner that Manish rifled into the top corner past a very bewildered Edwin van der Sar. The Netherlands halved the deficit though within 5 minutes, as an attempted Jorge Andrade clearance looped into his own net. The Dutch pushed for an equaliser, but it never came. The hosts were in the final and we were guaranteed a new winner for Euro 2004. The following day bore witness to our second semi-final between Greece and the Czech Republic. Greece had been imperious throughout the tournament, grinding out results with real grit and determination. The Czechs, on the other hand, were playing with far more freedom and swagger. They really believed they were a top team. The first half saw the Czechs on top, but Nikopolidis in the Greek net held strong. The big casualty here though was Pavel Nedved. The legendary winger had starred at this tournament, but an injury to him ended his tournament in the 40th minute of this one. The second half of this one brought more of the same, but it remained a draw. It was here where the match headed for extra time, and a quick interlude once again to explain the silver ball system. In the early 2000s, the boffins over at FIFA and other football organisations were experimenting with different rules for extra time. They first started with a golden goal system that if a match headed to extra time, the moment any goal was scored, the match would be over, with the team who had scored immediately winning and ending the match. If no goal could be found in the 30 minutes though, it headed to penalties as per normal. UEFA at Euro 2004 though trialled the silver ball system that worked on a similar principle, but instead of the game immediately ending, it would end at the next break. So if a goal was scored in the 101st minute, the match would end at the half-time break in the 105th minute. If it was scored in the second half of extra time, it would just roll on through. It was a bizarre system really, and was abolished almost instantly upon the ending of this tournament. Now back to the match, and it was Greece who were providing the real impetus in extra time, but Petr Cech was proving a tough nut to crack. However, a corner in the 105th minute, right before half-time in extra time, landed upon the head of Delas, who nodded home, sending his nation to the final. As soon as the game restarted then, the whistle went for half-time, which of course in the silver goal system meant the match was over. It felt incredibly unfair to the Czech Republic, who had played a blinder at this tournament, to not give them the chance of those 15 minutes to try and get back into the match. But a big shout out to them though for being a team the streets will never forget. This led us then to the final between Portugal and Greece, a rematch of the tournament opener. Greece had got on the better of the host the first time around, but surely now Portugal had grown, they wouldn't be as wasteful or as complacent again. The first half was played under a raucous atmosphere. Portugal were mostly in the ascendancy but struggled to create clear-cut chances. Greece though were all too quick to remind the hosts that they had potential on the counter. The second half is where the deadlock will be broken, and once again it was the newest Greek god Angelos Karastias heading home his third goal of the tournament. Once again Greece had stunned Portugal, but could they hold on to their slender lead? Plenty of chances followed though, mostly falling to teenager Cristiano Ronaldo, who could not convert. It must be remembered at this stage that Cristiano was still just 19 years old. He was still very raw and in his rough diamond era. Greece though did what they had to, complete the job by any means necessary. They were European champions in unbelievable circumstances. The birthplace of democracy and the Olympics had returned to the forefront of achievement against all the odds in their third tournament ever, having never won a tournament match before Euro 2004, had barreled their way into becoming champions of Europe. It's been 20 years since Euro 2004, and it's one of the earliest football memories I have, and you always worry when you do look back at tournaments like this that maybe nostalgia clouded your vision. Maybe it wasn't as good as perhaps you remembered, but I'm relieved to report that having relived this tournament now, it's just as good, if not better, than I remembered it. I mean, let's just explore the UEFA team of the tournament. Petr Cech, Sol Campbell, Ashley Cole, Gianluca Zambrotta, Ricardo Carvalho, Pavel Nedved, Frank Lampard, Zinedine Zidane, Michael Ballack, Luis Figo, John Dale Thomason, Wayne Rooney, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Cristiano Ronaldo and Henrik Larsson. I mean, what an all-star cast of footballing greatness. And then just as you appreciate them, you remember that all of them, absolutely all of them, paled in comparison to Greek holding midfielder Theodoros Zagorakis, who was playing for AEK Athens at the time. It really was what made this tournament so unique, so beautiful. Portugal were brilliant hosts of this tournament and were perhaps a little bit unlucky not to win, but they did lose to Greece not once but twice in this tournament. Nonetheless, the football played by Deco and Figo, Ronaldo, Rui Costa off the bench was poetry in motion at times. Rooney lit up the tournament, utterly annihilating international defenders at a whim despite being just 19 years old. The Czech Republic team was great fun, comprising of lovely technical players and a real togetherness about them too, but again it was the pragmatism pragmatic football of Greece that won it all in the end. Some have since labelled it boring in retrospect because of their reliance on set pieces and headed goals. But at international level, you don't get to assemble your perfect squad. You have to use what you have. You have to be pragmatic, and Greece did that to an absolute T. They deservedly sit upon their pedestal as one of the 10 winners of the European Championships. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of the whole untold story of Euro 2004. If you have enjoyed, leaving a like would let me know that you appreciated it, and subscribing for more would be ideal. But for now, I'll see you in the next one.